Canada's Natural Resource Minister says the NDP stands alone in its view of the Northern Gateway and BC's latest decision on the project. Joe Oliver says Enbridge can still satisfy any of the province's environmental concerns. Kathy Mueller is live in Calgary with more on that story. Hi, Kathy.
Yeah, good morning, Pat. Well, listen, we heard it from Enbridge on Friday when the announcement was made by the BC government that they refused the current proposal made by Enbridge and the Northern Gateway pipeline project. And they said this is really just a small setback in the grand plan for them to see this pipeline go through from Alberta to British Columbia. They say they're going to continue talks with the government of British Columbia and with the government of Alberta to really find good ways in terms of getting to an agreement when it comes to the environment and so on and so forth. But we know definitely things are heating up when it becomes pipeline politics in this country. And we can think of one political figure that's been very vocal against the pipeline situation in Canada, NDP leader Thomas Mulcair, making it very clear that he's against any pipeline, that's Keystone XL pipeline or the Northern Gateway pipeline, or even Line 9 that would go from the west to the east to Montreal. So we know that where he stands on the pipeline debate, and he really believes at this point that the decision made by the BC government on Friday is definitely a reflection of what his ideas, what his views are when it comes to the Northern Gateway pipeline project. We did hear from a Natural Resources Minister Joe Oliver, who essentially says this is the same old that we're seeing by Thomas Mulcair when it comes to the pipeline situation in the country, and he doesn't see really the true benefits it would bring to the Canadian economy. Watch this.
Thomas Mulcair has been opposed to every form of resource development that's major, particularly the pipelines. He's opposed to the Keystone pipeline, which would move the gas, the oil south. He's opposed to Northern Gateway, which would move it west. He's opposed now to the number 9 line of Enbridge, which would move it east. So he's against all these job-creating projects, and he's trying to find some allies, and he doesn't really have any.
So furthermore, Heritage Minister and BC native James Moore definitely standing by Minister Oliver on that one as well, saying that really at this point Canada needs to look to international markets to grow the Canadian economy when it comes to the resources sector, and this is what he had to say.
Our belief as a government is that all Canadians will be well served by getting Canadian markets to global markets, and that's our pursuit. But of course, it all has to be done within the context of the environmental review processes and considerations like that. So we'll see where it goes next, and we'll watch very closely.
So as we know, Pat, Premier Redford is going to New Brunswick on Friday to continue talks with the Premier of that province to see if a pipeline from the west to the east could be a viable one for both provinces. So definitely this is another way of Premier Redford to send a clear message, I think, to Premier Christy Clark in British Columbia that she will be looking somewhere else to export those resources if BC doesn't want to see the Northern Gateway pipeline project built in the next few years. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay, Kat. Thank you, though.
You're welcome.